name's Isabel Finnegan. I graduated from Bethel here in 2022. I am currently a senior at Carlow University. I'm finishing my 3-year program, Health Sciences Pre-Physician Assistant, in May, and after that I will be attending Physician Assistant School in the fall. Today I'm here to talk to you about a couple of different initiatives I started on campus these past 3 years. We're presenting The Power of Plants from the Plant Club. So to begin, the Plant Club was founded in my freshman year of, I think the spring, I believe. We're a group of Carlow students that really work on common interests in plants and other bioactivities. We do peer education, service, building through community, and some other initiatives here. As you can see, we have some plants on the side here that we've been starting in the greenhouse. So Carlow University has a couple of core values that they base all their education off of: mercy, action, contemplation, service, sacredness of creation, hospitality, and discovery. Through these core values, we try to achieve them and work through them in both of our academic and personal lives, including all of the activities that we do through clubs and other initiatives presented through the university. So let's begin by talking about some houseplants. I'm sure that most of you have seen a houseplant, right? I mean, Ms. Farron has a bunch around in this wonderful classroom today. So plants in general are shown to improve mood, enhance cognitive function, increase creativity, and have social benefits in the ways that they bring people together for community events and, you know, all of the other things that you can do surrounding plants. Studies even show that working with plants reduce physiological and psychological stress in multiple different ways. There are hundreds of studies. I just picked the first one that I saw, the newest one, whatever I saw. I'm sure you can read up on it in your free time. Plants and mostly houseplants are being incorporated into many aspects of our lives, including school classrooms, as you can see, mental health facilities and offices, schools. They're also being used in physical and psychological therapies. I know of a couple of institutions down in Oakland in the Pittsburgh area that are actually using planting houseplants and gardens as physical therapies for individuals who have either been harmed in accidents or other rehabilitation services. It works really on fine development in your hands, but it can also work on gross development and other aspects of your body, like walking and moving and lifting and things like that. And then also in mental therapies, they're being used in mental health programs to promote feelings of stress relief and calm, and it can also help to bring community, like we said. So in those other aspects, there are great benefits for plants. So our impacts and goals for the greenhouse at Carlow University are mostly to act as a resource, not for only the mental wellness of our students, but also the educational benefits that, as I mentioned, plants can have. If you're a bio major or even a psychology major, we work with criminology majors. We work with every single major that has ever wanted to touch a plant in their life. All of these students come to us for either educational purposes or to just be in the space to, you know, have a moment of mental rest. So we teach them all how to take care of either houseplants or plants that you can grow in the garden, and we send them off on their way. If they have questions, they can come back to us. We even have this cute little form. We call it plant therapy, and you can send in questions about the plants that you have at home. If they're looking a little wilty or a little dry, you send a picture and some questions, and we send you back a response with how to take care of it and move on from there. We also provide free resources, including dirt, pots, new plants to all the students that are in the community of Carlow, and we also serve the staff and faculty as well. We have a couple of maintenance workers that have plants at home, and they've shared some different houseplants and garden plants to increase the biodiversity of our greenhouse. So Grace's Garden is also the second initiative that we've started on Carlow University campus. This is my baby. Started last spring and then in May of 2024. Grace's Garden is a community garden on Carlow property that serves not only the Carlow community, but also the greater Pittsburgh area. So we teach self-sustainability and growing techniques. We promote hands-on approach to health and wellness. We educate the public on food insecurity and injustice. And we also feed the Carlow and Oakland community. We act as a visual representation of, if not us, then who? Carlow had an empty lot with nothing in it, where an old house used to stand, that they were doing literally nothing with. I walked by it one day and I said, that has potential. So with that idea in mind and some research that I had previously done in the Oakland and Pittsburgh communities, we began kind of a revolution in the Pittsburgh area. So has anybody ever heard of food insecurity? Right, okay, so a couple of us have heard of it. It's not a surprise because 1 in 5 Pittsburgh residents live with food insecurity. That is 20%. That is 8% higher than the national average. That is a striking amount, right? That's a big number, especially for such a modern city that we live in. There's lots of people there and lots of them are hungry. So food insecurity is defined as the lack of regular access to safe and nutritious foods for normal growth, development, and active and healthy lifestyle. You can see why that might be an issue. If you don't have access to food, you can't eat. And if you can't eat, a whole host of issues can happen, right? Right. So this food insecurity often comes from living in a food desert. This is a geographical region where people don't have access to groceries, basically. They have either a hard time getting there or transporting the food back to their home, okay? So Oakland is one of Pittsburgh's many food deserts. There are not many sources of fresh fruits and vegetables or produce in the area, and it's often difficult for residents, including students, staff, faculty of Carlow, but also students in the area that go to Pitt and Chatham and all the other schools in that area to access food. There's also a large homeless population in Pittsburgh, as I'm sure most of us are aware as well, and these people also need access to food as well. So let's take a look at this region here. This is just like the greater Pittsburgh region. You can see the point where the rivers converge, right? So like we said, that it's a lack of retail access to healthy and affordable foods. So we're looking at just like a big snapshot of Pittsburgh. So here on the side, we have kind of a key. It's kind of hard to see in this one. We'll get a little bit closer. So all of these are food destinations, including grocery stores, food pantries, convenience stores. And some other resources that people who have food insecurity or live in a food desert can access. Unfortunately, not all of them do actively have access to reliable and safe foods. So like convenience stores are kind of like a CVS. They don't really have fresh fruits and vegetables for you to work on, to use. So like all those ones in red, those are all stores you can buy food, but they're mostly packaged and frozen or canned. So like, while they have access to food, they may not be necessarily the healthiest foods, right? So let's take a look at Oakland specifically. Okay, so here we see Oakland. All of these little, this is right by UPMC Presby. So it's right by Pitt's campus. I think I put the dot right on Pitt, actually. So all of these dots here are where you can access food. But like I said, all of the ones in red, which there are startling amounts of red, are convenience stores, and they don't always have fresh produce. The blue ones here are grocery stores that might have access. Other is usually like a food pantry or a place that you can get a hot meal at, like either a homeless shelter or another area that serves foods. Grow Pittsburgh Gardens are in green here. There are a couple of them. But again, like those are only accessible in like the spring and summertime when food is growing. So in the winter, what do, right? There's food banks here in brown, but as you can see, there are only quite a few and they're not easily accessible. This is a 1 mile radius. The busing system in Pittsburgh is okay, not great. Most people who live in Pittsburgh or Oakland do not have a car. So imagine, let's say this is probably about 3/4 of a mile. Imagine to get to this grocery store, you have to walk 3/4 of a mile and bring everything that you have back, carrying it. Right, that's not great. We're privileged here. We have cars to get to the store and to bring our things home. But people in other underserved populations have to walk, have to carry all of those things back. And imagine now that you have a family of 6 or 8, you have to carry all of that food back to where you live. And that's not necessarily accessible, right? Right. So herein lies the issue of food insecurity and food deserts. We have a lack of access to safe and healthy and affordable foods. And that is the issue that we're discussing today. So our impacts and goals for Grace's Garden is to obviously maintain the garden and harvest from the garden to support the Pittsburgh area. We actually have a food pantry on campus called the Purple Door Food Pantry, and it is stocked with fresh fruits, vegetables, herbs, flowers, and everything else you can possibly imagine that comes from our garden each week in the spring and summer months, and sometimes in the fall, depending on how cold it gets super fast. We strive to be accessible and freely available resources for Oakland, and to, take a look at that food desert status. We're trying to combat that and work towards food justice instead of food insecurity. So our future, we actually have some super cool initiatives coming up this spring. We are now instilling raised beds and arching trellises in the garden this year. It is a 26 by 52 plot of land that we're working in, 52 foot, so it's pretty big. So like I said, we're putting in the raised beds and the arch trellises this summer. And in addition to that, we are also working more with other resources, including the American Heart Association. We've just recently gotten a grant from them to improve our reach. In addition to the garden, we are also working on making the greenhouse more accessible. Our overarching goal is to grow food throughout the winter and the fall instead of just the growing season that we have in Pittsburgh here. So our greenhouse is actually kind of unavailable right now. It's broken, and the heating system, the heating cooling system in the greenhouse is broken. So we've had temperatures from anywhere from 40 degrees Celsius to 120 degrees Celsius. So that's not growable, right? Imagine being a plant in 120 degrees. You're human. Being in 120 degrees would be unbearable. So currently, we can't grow year-round in the greenhouse. We can't grow at all in the greenhouse. So we're working on getting funding and grants to improve the greenhouse so that we actually have a usable source of space to continue our food justice mission. So here's the greenhouse. This is actually not updated. This is how we found it. So once you walk in the door, this is our prep room here. There's space to plant, basically like plant maintenance and stuff like that is what we do in here. Right now it is acting more as a greenhouse because it is the only temperature controlled space that we have. So we do actually have on this wall now a bunch of grow lights. I think this is the updated version, yeah. So all these pink here are actually grow lights. And we have, I think, like 8 to 10 shelves of just grow lights where we start all of our seeds for the garden. And then we also maintain a bunch of houseplants here. So as you can see, the hallway view, and this is the entrance to the prep room. And then this is our greenhouse. Unfortunately, like I said, it is mostly inhabitable. We have a couple of plants in there that are kind of like, I don't know, survivors, I guess you could say. There's a couple of pots that I brought in. We sometimes grow potatoes in there. We did that over the winter this year because it was cool enough, but now that it's getting warmer, it's not as accessible anymore. So like I said, we have this message of if not us, then who? Nobody was going to come along and use that plot of land unless we did, right? So we took that initiative and we grew something from it, literally. So let's discuss, how do you grow a community? The garden actually sits in a little community, and there's neighbors and people that don't go to Carlo on this street. Every time that I was in the garden, I would have a neighbor pass by and ask, what are you doing here? Well, I'm building a community garden. And some of the neighbors that have lived there for 40, 60 years have grown up on that street and have parents there now, have told me that we've been waiting for someone to do something with this spot. And we are so excited that it's something green and for the community. We hate seeing new buildings go up because what are you going to do if there's just another building there? You can't really, that space isn't usable anymore, except obviously for like a house or a building. But now that we have a green initiative there, you know, that space is taken and it's serving the population that we work with, right? So not only does Grace's Garden serve the Oakland community, but it is also intertwined in a network of food resources in Pittsburgh through the food bank network that works in Pittsburgh, and our food resources have reached as far as the other side of Pittsburgh, like the North Shore, right? It's pretty cool. So any resources that aren't used in our food bank are used somewhere else. There are transportation individuals who volunteer to take food resources that have not been utilized by the community that they are existing in currently, and they transport them somewhere else that is in more need. It's pretty cool. Do we have any questions? No? Okay. So I brought some houseplants for everyone today. I'm going to put them up here, and we can take a look at what we'd like. So I'm just going to introduce which one each is. So this one here is a jade. Okay, it was cut off of a big mother plant. They can get like, I don't know, like yay big. They're pretty huge. This one's been in Carlow University since I got there, and I will probably be there long after I'm gone. So these leaves can actually be taken off to propagate by just placing them in some soil, and these ones have already been started. These are really, really tiny ones, so if you're a little bit afraid of houseplants, maybe not this one. However, they are pretty easy. You just need to water them like once every 2 weeks, kind of. So after you place the leaf in the soil, you can see, let me see if there's a bigger one. That would be better. No, okay, you can see that little buds come up, and it's the leaves of the next plant that's coming to grow from it, right? So these ones are pretty old. These ones take a little bit of time to grow. So this is one of the slower propagation methods, right? Okay. Another propagation method is, like I said, cutting off a piece of the plant and putting it in some water or soil. So those bigger, bushier kinds that I showed you earlier were actually, like I said, cut off this morning, and they will grow directly from that area. Roots will come out from the bottom here, and it kind of grows like a tree. It'll grow straight up and from here, and it'll start branching out. So this one obviously is like a little bit smaller of a plant, a little bit slower of a start. This one is a little bit faster of a start. These can be started in both soil and water. So I actually have a couple of water propagations here. So this kind of plant doesn't have like nodes, which I'll show you what a node is. So the roots kind of just come out from wherever you cut it. But something like a pothos has these little nodes here, and that's where new roots come out from. So they grow like this on a vine, and whenever you see a node in this area, you can either stick it in some soil or in some water, and some roots will start to grow. So most vining plants have nodes like this, and the nodes, like I said, are where the roots shoot out from. And as you watch it grow in either water or soil, you'll see that not only new leaves form, but new roots from the roots grow. Let's see if I have a good one here. So, here is one that has some roots growing from those nodes, like I mentioned. As you can see, they're getting pretty big. And then you'll see these little offshoots of roots from the roots, and that is when you know that it's a pretty healthy plant and it's almost getting ready to transfer to soil. So like I said, these ones you can propagate in water or in soil, and after you put it in some soil, you have a new houseplant. These ones are actually kind of unique because they can also survive just in water for a really long time. I think this one's been growing some roots probably about a month or two now. And then this one has also been growing a month or two, but it was just a little bit slower, so you use a little baby root. So these are golden pothos, and this is a philodendron. I have some soil-started pothos as well. I have a couple of succulent varieties, and these little guys, aren't they cute? Yeah. Yeah, this one was also started from just a leaf, right, like the jade was. So these two were just started from one leaf, and you can see right here where it shot out, right? Awesome. Yeah, so that bigger leaf there obviously looks kind of a little silly, right? That is actually where the stem of the new plant came popping out. Awesome, right? Cool. And then I have one more houseplant to show us today. It's like a little show and tell. This is a spider plant, and this one also has nodes. They're like kind of just like brown, and they kind of look like dirt. But this is where the roots shoot out from here. These ones I would say are the easiest, so if you're new to this, I would take one of these. All of them are actually pretty easy. I have never had issues with any of them. And the good thing about plants is, you know, if half the plant dies, you can propagate from what's left. So, like I said, I usually start propagating in water with most of these kinds of varieties just because it's easiest to do that way. It takes up less space and it's just water. You don't have to buy anything, right? You don't have to get soil or a pot. Just water in a cup that you found in your house. So like I said, these ones have been growing in the water for, I would say, probably 2 months. After that point, I put them in some soil so that the roots can get some soil, like we call them soil roots just because they're a little bit hardier. They're not as like soft. And then as you can see, they start to grow in the soil as well. And I prefer most of my houseplants in soil just because I have a tendency to be really clumsy and I don't like when I like knock over glass and water all over the floor, right? Dirt sometimes is a little bit easier to clean up. So I prefer, after they've water propagated for a while, to just stick them in some soil and watch them grow. Soil also generally offers a little bit more of a benefit to the plant. They grow faster just because of the nutrients. So these ones were propagated for about 2 months in some water, and then I just transplanted them like 6 weeks ago. As you can see, they're doing really well and they're growing pretty fast. And then this guy was propagated for about 2 months, and then he's been in soil for maybe 2 months, almost 3 now. So as you can see, they get pretty big pretty fast. Pothos grow really fast, especially when they're in good sunlight. Okay. So if you want to take a water propagation, I have a bunch of old yogurt cups. This is one of my favorite life hacks. Sustainability, right? That's what part of what we're doing here, sustainability. So I just take any old jar container that I have and I fill it with water and I stick a plant in it and I call it a day. And then I forget about it for a couple of weeks and then I go, I should probably check on that plant. And then it has roots. And I'm like, you know what? That worked out really nicely. So like I said, I have a couple of glasses up here. If you want to take a water propagation, I have enough, I think, for everyone to take a soil-based plant and a water-based plant, if we all want to try one of those. We actually do have some volunteer opportunities coming up in the garden. If anybody is interested, I can leave my email and we can definitely work through that. It's a great opportunity to beef up your resume if you're planning on going to college or into anything else that you would need a resume for, which is everything these days. The garden has provided me so many opportunities. I encourage everyone to go out into your community and find something plant-based to participate in. The community garden, Grace's Garden, has actually been featured in 3 different journals in the past year. We've been in the Trib Live, the Almanac, which most of you probably get delivered to your house, and then also the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. So we've been doing lots of outreach and talking to lots of individuals about how this community garden has impacted their lives and what we can do to improve it. So like I said, the entire point of this garden is to serve its community. And going back to those Carlow core values of mercy, service, sacredness of creation, we're working to embody all of those things into this garden to provide the best resource that we can to the people and populations that we serve. The entire idea for the garden was based on my grandmother, Jacqueline Fettis Finnegan, Waldo, and she actually grew plants and produce for her community in the summer and springtime, which was also an underserved community. Past generations of my family have also suffered from food insecurity and have lived in food deserts. And learning to garden and provide food for not only her family but also her community not only was almost a genetic trait, because I do have green thumbs like she did, but it was a passion project that she passed down from herself to me. And now I'm passing to the community of Oakland and now Bethel Park as well.